So what's up? This will be the fight prediction for Benavidez, the Mexican monster, versus Alexander the Nail Gvozdyk. I do consider this a fight that will go to the decision, that go to the scorecards. It's an interesting fight. I think the odds should definitely be in favor of Benavidez in terms of public perception, but also in terms of his overall dominant social media presence. He is constantly in the talks for fighting Canelo, taking a big gamble by moving up against one of the top three light heavyweights and a seasoned light heavyweight at that, who is formerly teammates and still good pals with Aleksandr Usyk, the likes of Lomachenko, Dennis. He just won a world title as well. So from the same team, all went to the Ukraine in the 2012 Olympics. So there's a very tight team, and he is from the same school. Having said that, I don't rate Aleksandr Gvozdyk as high as an Alexander Usyk or Lomachenko, but I would definitely not have him. Like if they're here, Gvozdyk is there. Just run one step behind. 1 foot behind, but he is right up there. I just think that there are a few things that haven't been talked about that definitely matter for this fight. Seen somebody analyzing Gvozdyk's performances, which were the Beterbiev performance and the Bolotnik's performance, and taking into account those two performances, I don't think that they are the correct performances to look at when we are gonna go into the Alexander Gvozdyk analytics, because he seems to be very calm, very confident. Doesn't have that kind of nervous energy that he had against Beterbiev, and I think he learned quite a few things. Now, what's also interesting is that Gvozdyk, in one of his career best performances against Adonis Stevenson, he put him in the hospital, and actually that kind of shocked him in the sense that he started to question his own mortality, as it's usually very shocking for most fighters when they most people who come back after war and after fighting in wars, having done horrible things, are more shocked with what they can do to another person rather than what has been done to them. So making sense that Gvozdyk almost killed somebody in the ring and put him in a hospital into a coma for 3 weeks, who has to basically retire, and Adonis Stevenson, who defended his title at the time 10 times, this was the 11th time that he was going to defend it, and to be knocked out in the 11th, almost the irony of it seemed like he was just counting towards that moment. It's almost poetic in a way, in a dark kind of poetic. But it shocked Gvozdyk very much, and he basically went on to fight after one fight in between, and then fought Beterbiev, and Beterbiev knocked him out in the 10th. Even though it was a competitive fight, I didn't think Gvozdyk was as good, as sharp as he was against Adonis Stevenson. And I look at those two fights. I recently rewatched both of them, and what I saw was indeed that against Adonis Stevenson, he looked more calm. He looked more like a killer. Also looked quite similar to how he's looking now mentally, and also the nervous energy seems to be gone. He seems to be in a very good place mentally and physically for this upcoming fight. And after the Beterbiev fight, after taking this beating, and this might be still coming to his mind during the fight when Benavidez is going to lay it on him and take him into the trenches. Will he get that shock that he got in the hospital, which put him in retirement for 4 years? And I'm talking about the second time after Beterbiev, out of precaution. He was sent to the hospital, but he was very shocked, especially considering with what he did to Adonis Stevenson, which he was like, oh fuck, I could have been Donna Stevenson, like I could have been that guy right now. And I think that realization hit him in a way that put him into retirement for some time. Basically after which he comes back after 4 years, sitting out the COVID times. Now, I do think that there might be a little bit of a trick up his sleeve, because what I do like about the Ukrainians is that they are master strategists when it comes to boxing. They have their own style. They bring a lot to the table in terms of strategies, successful strategies that work across all boards. And the strategy that I expect Gvozdyk to be taking full advantage of is the fact that he is perceived to be the older fighter, is perceived to be a fighter who is not as good anymore as he should be. He is not viewed as somebody that is of the level of danger that he used to be at for the light heavyweight division against Adonis Stevenson. I think he is at this particular moment, and I want to look at the Rodriguez fight that he recently had, where he knocked him out in the second round. And I want you to pay attention to the fundamentals that he displayed there. Something that Gvozdyk seemed to have really hammered home was to make sure that the third stage of attack got a lot better. And in that fight, it really showed that after each punch, after each thing he did, he improved his overall defense and got rid of the old habit of getting so out of position after throwing 2 or 3 punches, which also was still the case against Adonis Stevenson. This was, and then with a southpaw, you get tangled up in the feet, and he was sometimes off balance in that sense. But he is a guy that has a good 1-2, has good pressure, and that at times can create good angles and take the outside position. But overall, he made sure that in those 4 years he probably trained to get rid of some of these habits that he had. And in the Rodriguez fight, it really started to show. In the Bolotnik's fight, a little bit better. But still, there seemed to be some of that old tendency still left, which makes sense if you train 4 years or keep in the gym for 3 or 4 years to improve your habits. Even if you're then stepping into lower competition, you might still fall back on some of the old habits that you had 4 years prior, which is why it was very smart to take a slow building up 3 fights and then to take a little bit more of a dangerous fight, especially looking at the record of Rodriguez. I don't know who he has fought, but 28-4 was a pretty decent record. And also looking at the guy coming in, he brought that Mexican style that wants to, plot forward, a little bit like a Benavidez, and the guy weighed in at the weigh-in over 7 pounds heavy, and Gvozdyk said, "I don't care if you're 7 or 8 pounds heavy. I'm gonna still take you out of there," which he did in under 2 rounds, not even 1.5 rounds. Really, it was a very dominant display. But looking in the first round, he did a lot of things very well there. The first thing was that after each combination that he threw, he actually stepped around and off the center line, getting his feet in position relatively well. Sometimes he still had this tendency of stepping out of range, switching the feet up and then moving back in, which is something that I think Lomachenko got punished for at the elite level quite often, because he would then, switch his feet up in a kind of a lazy way, and the guy would just jump forward and attack him. And especially talents like Haney, Teofimo Lopez made full use of that. And even Jermaine Ortiz did a pretty good number on those footwork habits that Lomachenko had. And in the Kambosos fight, quite frankly, he had it less. So that speaks of the Ukrainian, um, like, and this is like something that is really like key for Ukrainian fighters in general, is that their approach to boxing is very much. I would always compare it a bit with being uh, like a Zen master. Sounds a bit vague, I know. What I mean with that is that they're very self-conscious, very like in their body, in their mind, in their like self-aware about what they're doing. They are doing something and they can kind of visualize how it would look even without a video. It's assisting them, and how it feels, and how it would, how like they're very aware, and especially when they are trying to improve on certain habits that they have, then each moment that they do it in sparring, training, they would be having that click in their mind, like, oh shit, I did it. Okay, not do it again. Oh shit, I did it. I need to focus on not doing it. It's like each time you kind of give yourself a little slap, a little flick by the ear, telling you like, I need to stop doing this. There's a very effective way of getting rid of habits, is that when you are having that approach in training, which is typical for the Ukrainians, very self-conscious, very self-aware fighters, who are very aware about what they're doing wrong and how to improve it. And that's also, you know, what Usyk is known for. Even after defeating Tyson Fury, he immediately looked back on the fight and was like, I was doing this wrong, I was doing that wrong, I need to do it better next time. I don't need to, I shouldn't get hit that often to the body, shouldn't get hit that often with that uppercut. And he made the uppercut miss in the end quite regularly, but there were other problems that he had trouble with it. These are stablemates for the Ukrainian fighters. They're very conscious, they're very aware, and they're very smart and educated in their self, in their own ability, and in their mistakes. They are aware about them, and they train to make sure they don't make these mistakes, so that when the time comes, they have that click in their ear that says, okay, if I do this again, I might get knocked out now, stop doing it. Even during the fight, I expect Gvozdyk to be a lot more defensively responsible than he was before. His defense improved, which is the biggest thing that was missing in his arsenal, was his, after fighting, after throwing punches, he had trouble moving his head off the center line, throwing, like angling out. I always managed to stay a little bit too close, a little bit too much in the punching range, in a horrible position, and reflectively, you know, like improvise kind of on the spot where with his hands to kind of block punches instinctively and reactively, which is where Beterbiev took full advantage of the fight. Even though I thought Gvozdyk was doing very well in that fight. I would say in the 8th round, I think I scored it 4-4 at that point. Like, I think I scored it 4-4. And then Benavidez was just like waltzing through in the 9th and the 10th round. So, and taking the stoppage in that 10th round. So we are looking at a Gvozdyk that people are not going to expect seeing. We are gonna look at a Gvozdyk who is more defensively responsible, who got rid of some of the habits. He parted ways with Teddy Atlas, and even though Atlas helped him on some mental level, I did think that with Teddy Atlas his overall technique started to decline the longer he stayed with him, especially the Beterbiev fight that showed, and I think it was smart of him to kind of get out of boxing and take everything to the drawing board and make sure that he got rid of the habits that he developed in that time. So now we're talking about the odds and how I see the fight happening and who I pick to win. Benavidez is going to look to go forward and pressure Gvozdyk. Gvozdyk will look to counter with his backstep counters with the right hand. He has a small reach advantage. and will try to go over the top with the right hand of the left hand of Benavidez and look to time him there, push him back. And I think the key combination here that we're going to look at is the 2-1. Gvozdyk has a very good, powerful, stiff jab, so he will be looking to throw it, create a kind of a false sense of rhythm, then kind of like feint it, go with the right, and see where David Benavidez will be positioned after, because he tends to end up square. If he tends to get up square after being hit with that punch, I do expect that Gvozdyk will look to come in with the lunging left hand following up the 2-1. I think that will be a key factor for Gvozdyk to beat Benavidez, with Benavidez who is going to look to make Gvozdyk miss using his head movement more, and I think that is something that he has been working on, because something that Benavidez improved on, there are two things that he improved on a lot. First one being his overall head movement. He is a little bit more flexible in the upper body, moving a little bit more side to side when he's walking people down, and is also a little less often squared up. And he got a lot better at cutting off the ring, especially when we looked at Plant and definitely in the last fight against Andrade. He was able to cut off the ring very efficiently, whereas when he was younger, he was sometimes a little bit letting guys out of the corner too easily, not, you know, kind of like following guys around the ring rather than trying to cut the ring off and making that ring smaller. Basically, if a guy is moving left, you start to cut off slightly the left, then their escape route is to the right, knowing that you cut off the right, and then slowly that ring is getting smaller as you are constantly blocking the exit, while leaving the other side a little bit more open, but enough for you to step around and control that side. So it's constantly like this, and then at some point the ring gets smaller in one point. He got a lot better at that, and he is actually, I think at the moment, he when it comes to cutting off the ring, Canelo used to be a guy that was able to do this like pretty decently, but I wouldn't say like he was always able to cut off the ring that efficiently. But he still was able to do that quite well. And Benavidez was, at the time that Canelo had his reign, was not so good at doing this. And I think now the roles are reversed. Canelo is now more like following guys around the ring, and Benavidez is able to actually move towards his opponents and making that ring constantly smaller by cutting off the left side and then cutting the right. When they move right, to go left. This is what Benavidez has been able to do very efficiently in the last 2 years. He's been able to improve that part of his game, and it made him all the more dangerous. Now, those are kind of like the key factors here. It's like Gvozdyk's footwork versus Benavidez's ability to cut off the ring. What do I think will happen on either side? I think Benavidez is going to look to indeed cut off the ring, go to Gvozdyk, and use that left hand. And sometimes he has a really good single right, like lead right hand that he throws. I think those two punches are going to be his main way of getting inside and controlled there the mid-range of the fight, where Gvozdyk is usually the guy that isn't very good at the mid-range, but he is able to oftentimes go into 50-50s and taking the lead, especially against Adonis Stevenson. He sometimes took the mid-range and he was able to outmuscle and outwork Adonis Stevenson with some pretty crafty combinations, to be honest, stepping around. So this is kind of interesting, and I think a key factor here is also how well Benavidez will be able to adjust to the fact that, you know, he's used to smaller guys, fighting smaller guys, able to overwhelm them, and I think he will be strong, stronger than before. Will be able to deal with the bigger guys, that because Gvozdyk and Benavidez are like similar weight. even though Gvozdyk has to go down to 175, I will probably, as he stated in the pre-fight, move up and rehydrate around 15 pounds, so he'll be around 190 pounds. So he's definitely going to be like slightly bigger than Benavidez, but Benavidez coming up from 168, usually rehydrated around 185, 86, something like this. So he will be, I think, on the fight night he will be a few pounds heavier, or a few pounds lighter, and Gvozdyk will be a few pounds heavier, but the difference wouldn't be that much. So when the actual fight is going to come down, I think what will happen is, and it might be a bit controversial here, I think Gvozdyk is going to look to find the outside and land the right or control the reins with the left hand, throw in the right, and then after which he's going to follow up with the left, with the 2-1, the same punch that put Spence down, who was also considered the boogeyman of the division, and Crawford was only a slight favorite, and I thought that Crawford was going to be the absolute favorite. In my opinion, I thought Crawford would have a very easy night, and I predicted an 11th round stoppage. It was a 9th round, he was even better than I thought. But and gave Spence the beating of a lifetime. But I would say that Gvozdyk, although he won't be able to do that, I do think that Gvozdyk is going to do something similar to Benavidez. Quite frankly, because he has improved, he hasn't taken any damage, he's going to be fresh and he's going to be better, and overall that self-awareness that he has, that is the thing, the mental preparation that he has had for this fight, moving back in, smartly taking 3 fights to get those old habits out of his system completely, and before taking on a challenge in David Benavidez. I do think Benavidez is going to run into some heavy shots. I do expect a knockdown or two in favor for Gvozdyk, to be honest, because the guy hits hard, and I think he's going to be even sharper and even harder and going to hit even harder this time. And I won't be surprised if he catches Benavidez coming in with the left hand, going over the right, and actually putting him down with Benavidez, his throwing of the jab, while like he has a footwork error where he moves his right foot first and then resets with the left foot, just like Canelo, which Bivol was able to exploit and kind of put the blueprint on how to keep Canelo off you, which is by having the right foot go in, leaning over, then jab away as he is moving that right foot to the front. Then he has to reset and go back. Same mistakes Benavidez is making from the very beginning. He has been able to slightly disguise it better and make it a little less obvious. Still, I think if Gvozdyk is able to land the right hand, it's going to put Benavidez definitely down 1 or 2 times during the fight. Now, I think Gvozdyk has to survive the last 3 to 4 rounds. What I expect to happen is Gvozdyk might have scored 1 or 2 flash knockdowns, technical knockdowns that not necessarily rock Benavidez, but definitely, get him at a point where he's vulnerable. And then I expect him to take a few more rounds, scoring enough points to win a decision and get overwhelmed late by Benavidez, too late. And I think that is what ultimately is going to happen. I think if Benavidez wants to win this fight, he has to try and stop Gvozdyk in the 10th, 11th or 12th round. I think with the conditioning of Gvozdyk right now, and how he must be in the best shape that he's ever been, I do not see that happen. I see Gvozdyk being able to take a lot of rounds early, probably towards round 8. I think it will be a very one-sided fight until the 8th round, and I think 9, 10, 11, 12 will go to Benavidez. Not enough, especially if you've been down twice. Coming on late will help you fight for a rematch. I think there will be a Gvozdyk Benavidez 2, because I expect an upset, and I do expect in the second time around that Benavidez will beat Aleksandr Gvozdyk, but I do think Benavidez is gonna go. This is my prediction for this fight. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like if you like. Please subscribe, hit the bell, and I hope I see you guys around next time. And yeah, thanks for watching. Have a nice day.